White Rocket Entertainment podcast number 944. We don't have an intro. I'll just say a new coach on the Plains and a quick look back at an unpleasant ending to a game Saturday night. And what's happening with the hoops? There's a lot to talk about tonight. The AU Wishbone is next. Theme music for our audio version. From the snow-covered steppes of Southern Illinois, where it's coming down even as I speak, all the way across the country to Eastern Virginia, where I don't know what the weather's like, but John can fill us in, as he always does. It's the AU Wishbone Podcast. John, how are you tonight?
I'm well, Van. How are you?
Cold. I got the hat on. That always means it's cold down here in the palatial environs. I might even have to put the Boba Fett helmet on for too long if it gets too cold down here. You will notice, by the way, I am wearing my favorite new sweatshirt. It's got every one of them on there.
That's right. 9-time national champion sweatshirt.
9-time national champion. That is a fact. That is the real deal. So we are here to talk about quite a bit because there's coaching news. There's basketball. We got to kind of talk about the Iron Bowl. There's good in it. We'll kind of pick through it. You know, like when the nachos get down to where there's like a bunch of soggy chips, but maybe there's still some chili or there's still a few, little clumps of melted cheese and something. We'll pick through the nachos and see if we can find anything worth gobbling up there. That's a pretty disgusting metaphor, and I apologize for even coming up with it. But before we do any of that, it's the Auburn Fun Meter, our weekly look at how much fun it is to be an Auburn fan this week. And, man, I don't think there's ever been more of a dichotomy between the one thing, which is just, all right, let me go back. I want to frame this, okay? And then we can fill in the frame, okay? So I'm going to frame it. The framing is, for me, is that when I went to bed, I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of this vertical side thing. I just made it worse. I can't do it. I don't understand it, John. It's all there.
All
okay.
Right. When you went to bed.
When I went to bed Saturday night, my rule. I have like the 5 minute, the amount of time changes, but it's never more than 5 minutes. Sometimes it's 1 minute. But my rule is I never let a sports result get me down mentally, physically for more than like 5 minutes. I just decided years ago nothing is worth that. And so I go, and I file it away and I carry on with something else. There have been some exceptions, and certainly in the 2013 Rose Bowl with Florida State, I was miserable for months and still am, in fact. But for the most part, I've been able to do it. But I kind of had to make an exception because Saturday night, the way that the Iron Bowl went and the way that it ended, I was so three times in a row. You know what I mean? To have it in our grasp 3 times in a row in Jordan Hare and let it slip through our fingers.
We're still in the fun meter. You're to the game, so let's.
No, I'm framing the fun meter. So I went to bed Saturday night as low as I could be and thinking we were going to end up promoting our fine defensive coordinator. Nothing against DJ Durkin, but he was not who I wanted to be the head coach, and it would have been embarrassing for the program to have done it, in my opinion. Okay. I think you've kind of agreed with me about that. Mm-hmm. And so when I got up Saturday, I was like, Sunday, I'm like, well, the race is at 10. I'll watch the Formula One race, take my mind off it. Literally, the lights went out, the cars went 5 feet forward, and I got a text saying Golesh. And I'm like, pause, and I didn't get back to the race for 4.5 hours. 4.5. So things got much better. And as the day went by yesterday, I got happier and happier because we always had Golesh. This is quite a fun meter. I always had Golesh. We both always had him on our chart.
Yes.
But he was never like at the top.
Yes.
But in hindsight, retrospectively, Dot, dot, dot. That being the case, my fun meter went from negative 30. I'm going to say an 8. And I'm going to say an 8 just because I'm taking 2 points off because I'm still ticked off about how the Iron Bowl went.
I'm going to issue the rare 2 separate fun meter scores.
Wow. Okay.
We're gonna do an on the field score and an off the field score, because in the on the field score, I'm going to include that Las Vegas performance and that absolute brain beating in by Michigan and how I felt after that game.
Well, but then there was the game after the Michigan game, though.
But
St. John's game. St. John's.
Agree. But so I'm including the sum total of that experience and the Iron Bowl and the on field, which again, as you said, even with the basketball, that's probably a -1. You know what I'm saying? Even with the St. John's win and the Oregon win.
Yes.
Because the Alabama game was so brutal. And then off the field, as you eloquently explained it, I think we're in a better place than I thought we were going to be Sunday night as well.
Yes.
And I feel hopeful and encouraged, so I'm going to say I'm an 8 as well. I like that.
All right. That works. And for our third banana, Boris is very excited about having a Russian coach, being a Siberian tiger as he is. And so on a scale of 0 to 10, his fun meter is 8,000.
He's just waiting for the call to join the administration.
Oh, he's going to be on staff. Sure. Yeah. So the first thing I want to say up front is that we did a rare emergency podcast yesterday, meaning Sunday, as we record this Monday night, Sunday around noon. It is on your pod apps. It is on YouTube on the AU Wishbone TV channel, where we talked extensively about Golesh, about our thoughts about them hiring him. We talked about Sumrall on there a good bit. We talked about some other things related. We did not talk at all about the Iron Bowl.
Nope.
So we are going.
We were not ready.
No. We are going to revisit the coaching hire thing briefly, but tonight we have other things than hiring stuff to mainly focus on, right? So, all right. I got to point out, it is this show as it goes up, it's the late hours of December 1st, but it will be officially dated as always. I always date them the next day. When we go up, people get them the next morning. This is our December 2nd show. And December 2nd is the 36th anniversary of First Time Ever.
Wow.
And I would just 36 years since you and I and all of our friends were in Jordan-Hare watching Alabama visit Auburn and play in Jordan-Hare. They were number 2 in the country, undefeated. We were like number 11 with 2 losses, and we beat them by 10. And for a long time, that was the biggest margin of victory for Auburn in the series for a long time. I think until 2017.
Wow.
No, well, yeah, because it would be 2005, except Tuberville sat on that 28-0 or 28-7 lead, and Alabama ended up making it 28-18. And that one feels like the biggest beatdown because we were up 21-0, but it wasn't. But anyway, so it's the 36th anniversary, and I would just point out we wrote a book about it called First Time Ever, very popular book. Go to Amazon, pick up a copy in paperback or hardcover. And also, December the 2nd just happens to be Third Banana's birthday. He's 25. No, 24. Get it right, buddy. So Boris the Tiger, I acquired him from a grocery store in Auburn in 2001. And he's been with me ever since. He even traveled all the way around the world with me in the suitcase. It was awful. So here he is. He's been with me ever since. He's even gotten left in Auburn and gotten shipped back by UPS in a box, which he tweeted along the way from the various stopovers through Memphis. That was so good. He had a bunch of Auburn stuff packed in there with him, thanks to your parents. All right. So let's talk about the football coaching search. Where do you want to go with that? We did have and I got to say that the new development today was we had the press conference. We
Yes.
had a tiger walk. We had a tiger walk into Jordan-Hare. That was new. They didn't do that with Freeze and they certainly didn't do it with Potato. And it was suggested by somebody who should have done a reverse tiger walk and frog marched Potato out through a tiger walk. Well, people pelted him with rotten vegetables. That would have been awesome. So
I thought that was a fun twist.
Yeah.
And we got some video of the press conference and of him speaking to the team today. So that was good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was, good stuff. And I think it's all of that I saw and heard today just made me more encouraged.
I would kind of compare it this way with the last three. I almost said it. When you go back a couple, Potato was terrible. He's just a horrible public speaker with zero energy. And my wife watched his press conference with me in 2020, whenever it was. And she said, I give him 2 years. And man, she was a prophet. Freeze is sort of a televangelist. He did pretty well with just, yuck in it with the crowd, but there wasn't a lot of energy. I'll say this, Golesh isn't a polished public speaker. He's not in his element reading from a prepared text, but when he gets to just talk off the cuff, what he thinks, what he's, how he feels about things, what he wants to do, I'm ready to run through a wall. And that's what we want.
That's right. He
was firing me up. And there was a couple of funny moments too. Like somebody asked him, do you play golf? And he just looked at him and said, I've been here long enough to know that that's a setup. And then he said his family plays golf. He's like, I don't like golf. I'm terrible at it. I play football. I coach football. So he kind of won you can say, did he win the press conference? I think probably, but he certainly won the gotcha questions.
Yes.
Which was really cool. So all of that was good. He came across very well, I thought. Cody Burns. I want to mention that next. Cody Burns. I did not have the return of Cody Burns as associate head coach on my bingo card this coaching cycle.
No, but it's huge.
I had no idea that they'd been tight for 6 years. He coached with him at Tennessee, and then Golesh took Cody with him to South Florida, and he said, Golesh said the call came from Cohen at 1 a.m. and Golesh called Cody at 2 a.m. And Cody's like, they're like, were you expecting that? He goes, well, I wasn't expecting it at 2 a.m. but I was very excited, So Cody, it's so cool. When we first met Cody Burns back in 2006, 2007, he was just young kid. He looked young. He sounded young. He was wide-eyed, you could tell he was a great guy, but he was just so wide-eyed. He was not wise to the ways of the world, basically. And after everything he's been through, he caught the first touchdown pass in the national championship game from
That's
camp.
Right.
So he forever has a place, his real place in Auburn history goes back to 2009 when he and Chris Todd were battling it out. We talk about that in our new book. Yes. All they do is win. And so anyway, I saw an interview with him today, and he just seems, obviously it's been a number of years, but he just seems like he has it all together now. And clearly Golesh thinks so. And
there was actually a newspaper article from a year or two ago that was written in Tampa about the two of them. And the spin of the article is basically like Golesh gets too excited and too up, and Cody Burns is always like cool as a cucumber, and he's the guy that brings Golesh down and back to reality sometimes. So
I like it. Well, no wonder Golesh said something like he's at my side, and Cody said I'm going to be at his hip. So they clearly have an understanding already. They understand their relationship, and that's fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah. So he's associate head coach. The weird thing though is that supposedly the deal they were secretly working out with Durkin was to be associate head coach. Could be a problem, but my solution is just make everybody an associate head coach. Why not? There's no rule says you can only have one. Make them all. Whoever. strength and conditioning coach, congratulations. You are now associate head coach.
That works too. And they're going to have another guy who's going to be offensive coordinator and call the plays, not
Yes. And not Cody.
That's right.
Yeah, this is the quarterback guy that is the one that Golesh thinks is a genius at working with quarterbacks. And he called the plays, I think, at South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, since we're talking about that, I heard some guys talking today about this. I thought this was very interesting. They said that there are coaches that have their system, and this is my spin on it, okay? But they try to fit the players they get into their system, and B, they never change over time. They keep trying to do their thing. And they said that one of the things about Golesh is that when he went to Tennessee, he realized some of the stuff that they had been doing at Central Florida and wherever was no longer going to work at Tennessee, and they had to totally change everything. And then when he went to South Florida as the head coach, he realized the stuff he was doing at Tennessee didn't really work there. They had to change stuff again. And so they were saying that Golesh is famous for a couple of his offensive approaches, as we've talked about, but in reality, he just changes and morphs to whatever. He morphs to what works at the level he's at and what works with the players he has.
Yes, that's right.
Very flexible.
And adaptable over time to what's working and what the strengths of the players on the team are. I think that's great.
And they said that when he changes the offense, it's not to change it arbitrarily. It's to add stuff during the season as the quarterback gets more comfortable with stuff. I thought that was genius too. It all just sounds like somebody who knows exactly what they're doing. And it's like, it's so common sense. You wonder why everybody doesn't do it, but they don't.
No, they do not.
Yeah. So that was very impressive to me. All right. So Cody's back on staff, back in the loveliest village. I was excited also to see that Cole Kubelik is on board. People whose opinions I respect. Was it Hokinson or one of those, a bunch of the Auburn beat writer and YouTube guys that are pretty good. There's like the Maddie Loves Football guy that breaks down all the patterns and the plays and everything. He was over the moon. He's like, and there was a Tennessee guy that said, give Deuce Knight to Alex Golesh and Auburn's problems are finished.
Oh, yeah. That's the other part of this is that if you listen to the Tennessee people, they love Alex Golesh. They miss him, and they think maybe the secret sauce left the building with him. And
because they haven't been as good.
Successful. Mm-hmm.
That's it. Apparently, we're going to be a very fast tempo. Man, it's been, the irony there is the year that our slogan was Auburn Fast was the year that Gus slowed us way down.
Well, we've been I put this in here because we've been talking about going fast on offense for a long time.
Yeah.
Not actually going fast. It's been a long time since Auburn actually ran an up-tempo offense consistently and really. We went fast for a few minutes of this past season for like 5 minutes here and there, but we didn't go fast over the course of the game. Golesh is going to go fast on offense. They have been number 1 or number 2 in tempo. His offense is the last 5 years in a row. Number in the country. Number 1 fastest, number 2 fastest in terms of most plays run per game. At the same time, they're running the ball more than 40 times a game, averaging almost 6 yards a carry.
Yeah. Well, and did you see the quarterback? There's only been 10 quarterbacks in NCAA history to have 3,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing in the same season. And they were like 9 of them are like NFL household names, and 1 of them is South Florida's quarterback this year.
Byron Brown, yes. Who has eligibility left?
And that's a whole other thing. But then remember Hendon Hooker at Tennessee just lighting up Alabama and throwing for 8 billion yards.
He was awesome.
It's not a coincidence that Golesh was coaching both of those offenses. That is not a coincidence. I'm very, very excited.
I'm excited about the offensive possibility.
I'm just trying to imagine that these meetings, because apparently Golesh and Durkin have had multiple meetings now. I'm just trying to imagine Golesh like, now you're going to be back out on the field some, right? Because I'm going fast.
This is what I want to talk about.
Okay.
There's an article somewhere I was reading the other day after he was hired about Golesh and his thoughts about the whole football team. And this is actually, I think this is part of what they're discussing. Okay.
Yeah.
Because the offense is going to go fast. Like he's not ever going to say, "Oh, we're going to go slow and protect the defense." Like that,
Right.
they're not going to do that. So part of his thing is he doesn't want a bend but don't break defense. He wants a defense that's more aggressive, more man to man, more trying to create turnovers and sacks and that kind of stuff, and less giving up the catch and making the tackle kind of. And so I think to me, that is what the discussions with Durkin are about are you willing to coach that kind of defense, and how will our philosophies mesh, in
Yeah.
terms of complementary football? And
Yeah.
there's possibility that it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't work out that way.
And that would just not be anybody's fault. Just that's how it would go. You can't get
Yeah.
mad about it. Can't blame anybody. It's just because tell me this. Would it not be quintessential Auburn for the first year to not go well and there be a little conflict between them after everything we've gone through, not even getting Summerall originally and arguably because of the thing with Durkin and everything. After all that, can't you just see it's so Auburn, right? For us to have to fire Durkin or arrange for him to get another opportunity, right?
Yes.
You don't fire him. You kind of like say, oh, he's moved on for other opportunities.
Greener pastures.
Yeah. And so and after the first year. So I mean, part of me in that way kind of hopes we don't keep Durkin, not because I don't think he's a great coach, but because I agree with you, if it doesn't fit, I don't want to spend a whole nother season figuring out that it doesn't fit.
Agree.
And I mean, and again, if we have him, great. And if they can make it work, fantastic. Love him as the defensive coordinator. Love him. But if he moves on, that's a lot of money suddenly available.
We could pay another great coordinator.
Oh, you could get the best defensive coordinator that did fit with Golesh with the kind of money, because if he's not the highest paid assistant, he was at the time of our re-signing him last year, he was the highest paid assistant. Now I'm sure there's been a handful that have maybe jumped him since then, but he was the highest paid in the whole country. Because you remember we went through the whole thing about, is he worth that much money? And people were like, well, no. And I'm like, he is, if you consider we don't want to start over again.
Yeah. And that was when other teams were talking to him and stuff. Ohio State lost their defensive coordinator and they sniffed around and stuff. So,
yeah. So, all right. One other thing about the coaches that just occurred to me and I want to ask you about, it just seems weird, is that for the first 9 games of the season, our defense played great and we held teams to like 14, 20 points or whatever. And we would lose by 1 score because we just couldn't score at all. We'd lose games 20-14, right? Or 17-13 or something like that. We just couldn't score. The last 3 games without Freeze, with Nick's calling the plays, we've scored a lot more, but we've also given up a lot more points. And so we've only won. So we've gone 1-2 there. And it's just so weird to me that just as we improved the offense to the point that we should be winning, our defense seems to be slipping. Or is it just who we were playing? Vanderbilt and Alabama. I mean,
I think it's both. I mean, I think some of it is Durkin being the head coach, right? He couldn't spend as much time on the defense as he did.
Even during the game.
No, in preparation or during the game, either one. But I also think, and some of it was the teams we were playing. Vanderbilt and Alabama were the 2 of the top 3 offenses we played all season, but the other one was A&M, right? So I think that was part of it. I also just think like we had some injuries on defense, and I think they were worn down a little bit by the end of the season. So I think that was part of it.
Yeah, we were starting to lose DBs toward the end. That's true. Between targeting and injury and everything else. So By the way, I did see that we've now lost at least 3 of our recruits, and we are down to 10 with signing day in 48 hours. Less than
We
48
did get
hours.
one new commitment, but it was like a 3-star tight end from Alabama that had been committed to South Florida. He flipped to Auburn this afternoon. But yeah,
Not exactly a shock.
No, but I think, I've seen other players decommit from other teams that Auburn had been pursuing and committed to other teams during the cycle, and they decommitted in the last 24, 48 hours. So those things may be connected as well.
I looked at where we currently are in the recruiting rankings, and we are about 78, I think.
Oof.
We are 1 below South Alabama, but 1 above Troy. Hey.
Yeah, but we're not. I'm going to say this. We're not going to be in the top 10 or whatever, but it's going to be way higher than 78 by the time the dust settles.
I sure hope so. But also, he has 30 days now, roughly, to keep the players we have before any of them can leave.
Yes.
Right. He has a month to basically recruit the ones we have. And that really, a lot of that is a priority because, again, I've read a lot of stuff in the last 24 hours and watched a lot of stuff. And somebody said Auburn has the core of a potential national championship roster if they can hold on to it. And we've thought that. We thought we had a playoff team all year on roster wise.
But we do. I mean, we got a lot. We have some spots to rebuild too. We're losing a lot of offensive linemen, and they weren't great last year. And we need some work there. But I think we got to. We still got to continue to recruit well in high school, and we got to go out and hit the transfer portal and get some difference makers out there to replace some of the people. We're definitely going to lose some guys. It's going to happen. Everybody.
You need to get ready
right now. Need to prepare ourselves because it's going to happen, and it's going to be. And it may not be because they don't love Auburn. It may just be they look at themselves in the new system and say, I don't fit as well as I did in the old system. I need to go somewhere else.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to happen. So people don't need to start, jumping off bridges and stuff if we, we just hope that there's a handful. I wish we had like the franchise player designation we could put on a handful of people, I sure would like to. I can think of a couple off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Not including one that's leaving to go to the NFL, so we're not going to have him anyway.
Nope.
And that was one of the things that made me so sick. And we're going to turn our attention to that game here in a second. But one of the many things that made me so sick Saturday night was knowing that poor Keldrick Falk never got a chance to go to a bowl game. Or did he go to one?
He went to the Maryland game.
Yeah. Oh boy. Never got a chance to win a bowl game. Never had a season with a winning record. Never got to beat Alabama. It's just sickening. It just really, it's depressing. But that's how the last 5 years have gone, and that's why we got to turn things around. All right, let's briefly touch on a little ball game that happened in Jordan-Hare, 27-20. The statistics in that game were remarkably even all the way down the board. I'll just honestly, I've got about 2 things to say, and one of them is, you cannot spot Alabama a 17-point lead.
Nope.
You cannot turn the ball over twice late in the game when you're driving deep into their territory to tie it up or win it.
No.
And those 2 things, the other thing is we gave up an 8-minute long drive with 4 highly controversial conversions, 2 of them extremely controversial. You can't do that either. You know what that felt like?
What?
You remember the 2002 Southern Cal game in Los Angeles?
Yes.
Where their Heisman Trophy quarterback went on that long drive at the end, and we almost stopped him and almost stopped him and almost stopped him, and then they scored and won the game at the end.
Yep.
That's what it felt like. Where you're just like, if we can just get a stop, we can win this game or at least tie it. And we just couldn't. It was 20-20 at that point.
I know.
And we were moving the ball better than they were, except for that one drive. But they ate up the fourth quarter. And every time we'd stop them, something. That buzz on the headset from Birmingham. You need to go ahead and call the hands to the face penalty here. Oh, penalty, hands to something. 300 yards against Auburn, first down Alabama. That 4 times. So
it's mysterious.
All right, do your apportionment of blame.
All right,
got something else to start with there.
Drops by receivers. I mean, Ashton Daniels was not good, especially at the start of this game. He was a little nervous, overhyped, something. He was not throwing very accurate balls, and certainly not the way he was at the start of the Vanderbilt game. And so, a little bit of the blame there I'm going to give to him, but there were a lot of balls that hit receivers in hands that were not caught. And that is 100. I think I tweeted at the end of the game, we needed to have some engineering people do some studies of those stupid Nike gloves, because we couldn't hold on to the ball for anything in this game.
Couldn't catch it, couldn't hold on to it.
Couldn't catch it, couldn't hold it. So that was big. A lot of penalties. You talked about the mysterious ones of the defense, but there were a lot on our offense, a lot on our offensive line.
Oh yeah, as always.
The offensive game plan, we kept going to the 5 wide receivers thing and bringing the running back out there, despite other teams running the ball well with the tailback against Alabama, and despite Cobb for most of the game being pretty good against him. I didn't understand it. Also, if you're going to go 5 wide, put another receiver out there. It's a crazy thought, but
yes, we had him.
Which again, and it impacted the game, as we're going to get to. The offense and defense both started terribly slow. I don't know. We were too hyped. We were not hyped enough, whatever, but the offense was terrible the first few series, and the defense couldn't stop them for anything at the beginning of the game.
Well, can I interject too? It seemed to me like the best play we had all night was Ashton Daniels scrambling.
Yes.
They could not stop him when he got outside.
And that is why we were doing the 5 wide receiver thing. To be clear, I understand that part, but yes.
Open up room for him to run. Okay. Well, but when Cobb was in, he was, like you said, I mean, his first couple of runs got stuffed up pretty because they brought people up in the box. But after the first quarter, it looked like Cobb was running the ball very effectively on them. Mm-hmm. And then
he got hurt.
Yes.
And that's why we played a lot of Justin Jones and then the rookie.
Jones actually was doing pretty well on them too.
He was.
He had some good runs.
Run him more.
Oh my gosh. If we line up in the I formation in that game or the wishbone, I think we could have won the game. They never even had the ball. But the other thing I kept thinking was, I understand what you're doing. I understand Ashton Daniels, whatever. But the way Ashton Daniels was having success on the ground, I kept thinking, just stick Deuce Knight in there for a series. Just put him in there for one series. He might run 75 yards on one play the way he's done. I mean, I know he wasn't going to go out there and do what he did against Mercer. I know. But even a fraction of that, just as like a change-up, do the 5 wide thing, spread Alabama out, and then have Deuce just run up the middle. I think he could have gone for 20, 30 yards a clip.
I thought the same thing during the game, but I think, and I thought it multiple times. I was texting my brothers in the stadium and saying that, but I do think Daniels coming back at the end of the game and leading those drives to tie it and to bring us down the field showed that they made the right decision by keeping him in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. We kept thinking we were going to get the fabled package, for him, for Deuce, and it never materialized. I guess because it was just too tight. When you're down 17-0. Yeah. So,
we had the stupid 10 men on the field when they scored at the goal line after a timeout. That was kind of frustrating.
Yeah, that was weird.
And you've already talked about
I didn't realize it was Mabson that the ball bounced off his hands and they got the interception.
Yes, this is why I was talking about that. Like, Cobb came out, Jones ran some, and then Mabson came in for a play or two. They put him out in the 5 wide. He was the guy who was open. The ball went off his hands late in the game, led the interception. So we got our freshman running back lined up at wide receiver, and we're throwing him the ball in the 4th quarter of the Iron Bowl. I don't know if he has a catch.
And yet we're afraid to put the guy out there at quarterback that ran for 8,000 yards the week before.
Yeah.
This is why I don't understand. I don't get it.
The defense was good. I think they settled down as the game went along, and Alabama had 17, and we held Alabama to 3.8 yards per play for the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
Not just after that, but the whole game, that was their average. Their previous low was 4.3 at Missouri. Every other game this season, they've been at 5 or 6 yards per play. But the frustrating part was we couldn't stop them from freaking running the ball. They've been terrible at that all season, and suddenly against us, they're running the ball. I think we really were over-focused on the passing game and passing coverage, and they would take advantage of some of that with the running game.
Even when their running back got hurt and went out, they brought in their power fullback guy, and he was getting 8 yards a carry.
Yes, that was really tough.
Oh my gosh, I was losing my mind. So,
special teams, I thought their kicker would mess it up, but he didn't. I think that was a big thing in that game. That he had a couple of field goals, and those were big. We also started the game by kicking field goals. When we finally got moving, we did that thing that you're always like, don't freaking kick field goals against Alabama because it's going to bite you. And it did. Especially, I thought we had 4th and goal at the 1. We should have gone. We kicked field goal. And then, the stupid decision by DeBoer at the end to throw that pass on 4th down instead of kicking, I thought there was no way they were going to throw the ball. I thought it was purely a ploy to draw us off sides. And they went for it. I was shocked. And I know the defense was probably shocked and unprepared.
That was Les Miles all the way.
Yes.
That was a very Les Miles thing. That was the first thing I thought of is, no, Les Miles is the only coach that does this crazy stuff. Why would you do that? But, yeah, it worked.
It did.
Man, I wish we'd knocked it down or intercepted it or anything. Oh, that would have been so.
But it was, as you said at the beginning, it's 3 Iron Bowls in a row at home like this, and 3 brutal ones. It was a brutal season. We had a lot of tough losses, again and again, so close and ahead, making plays and can't win the game. And that was a really, really brutal gut punch of an ending in a game. And I just want to say, the fans freaking brought it again in that stadium. It was so loud on the TV. You could, especially in the second half when Alabama had the ball, it was deafening. You could tell. They got a bunch of penalties and had to call a bunch of timeouts because they couldn't hear themselves think on offense in that stadium. And the crowd made a huge difference. But, everybody who's been to some Auburn games in the last year or two should get some kind of campaign medal because they went there and endured and did their part, and we couldn't deliver. So that's what I think about it then.
I mean, anybody on the outside, and I think Golesh mentioned this, he said he watched the game. Anybody watching from the outside all season, Jordan-Hare has always had that reputation. But I think this year, given what we've gone through this year in a 5-7 season, the Auburn crowd, the Jordan-Hare has just been a monster, and they have, and you and I were at a game or two, and part of it, I donated a vocal cord to the cause and some epidermis, I mean, I want them to. I want our Auburn family in Jordan-Hare live. I want that crowd, whether I'm in it or you're in it or not, to get to experience the good stuff again. And it's been
amen.
The last decent season was 2019. Even that, if you had told us in 2019, gentlemen, you are experiencing as good as it's going to be for the next decade, I'd have just. I'm done. I'm done, John. Done. I retire. Gonna go fishing. So that would have been a horrifying thought. We haven't had a great season since 2017, and even then, didn't end the way we wanted it to. So we're due. We are more than overdue, and I hope Golesh is the man to bring it back. I feel good about him. Like I said, every hour that's gone by since 10 o'clock Sunday morning, Every hour that's gone by, I felt a little better. I have yet to have a moment where I dropped off any. It's been up, 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 up every hour, up, 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 up.
Yep.
From just digging into his background, the stats and everything, the history, the Cody connection, the press conference, the energy, everything about it tells me that we've got good times coming. I don't get that vibe. You know, looking back in hindsight, looking back at the press conference and everything around Potato, it never felt. Your thought was maybe this guy is going to be good, you know.
Well, we had again, in both cases, we had the search and the fan base was kind of divided about who we should hire and and then we end up with Potato and a lot of people were unhappy and unsure. And the same thing with Freeze. A lot of people were unhappy and unsure when we got him. Yeah. And I don't think there's any reason for people to feel that way now.
No.
I don't think like whatever Summerall's mother-in-law or whoever, if they're an Auburn fan, they might feel that way. But other than that person, everybody else should feel pretty freaking good.
I think the Summerall people understand that there's something else to say about that. We'll get to that in a minute. But the only people that I wasn't sure we would get on board were the Durkin forever BFF people, right?
Yep.
And if we keep Durkin, maybe we'll even get 80% of them back, you know, and then we'll be as unified as we've been in
more than a decade.
Mid Tuberville, even. People were always mad at Gus from day one. You know, Gus was kind of like Terry Bowden in a way, where half the family, even when he was winning, didn't like him, much less when he was losing, you know. So, I mean, Terry went 20-0 and be like, we got to get rid of this guy. Dude.
Whippersnapper.
It's true. I remember going into a McDonald's on a road trip and I had an Auburn shirt on or something. And this older couple, they're like, hey, War Eagle. And I'm like, hey, War Eagle. And they're like, what do you think of Terry Bowden? I'm like, oh, he's great. We're like 20-0. They're like, we don't like him. I'm like, what do you want? 20-0. Oh, Auburn family never change. All right. Anything else about football, the coaches, and all that? And there's a little bit more coming up when we get to a certain segment.
We'll do some coaching carousel stuff in a little while.
We will. Yeah, we will. All right. Basketball. The funniest basketball thing I saw today was a picture of Bruce standing there at the press conference with Steven behind him. And the caption was like Bruce Pearl at the press conference. And I'm like, yeah. And the head coach of Auburn basketball is right next to him. It's like people still haven't they act like he's just letting Steve play. Here, son, run out there and pretend you're the coach.
Also like the Q rating or whatever. If you had to pick them out of a lineup, I think everybody in America could pick out Bruce Pearl and
that's true.
Just Auburn basketball fans could pick out Steven Pearl.
Well, Steven doesn't look a lot like Bruce because Bruce has got the more pudgy with the beard. Even when he didn't have the beard, he was more pudgy and all. Steven is just like a rail, right? He's just slender. His face is narrow, kind of like my nose. And you know, I'm gotten pudgy now, but I used to be kind of shaped more like him. So they don't favor as much as some father and son. So I can see that. But I tell you what, though, yes, there was a bad middle game, but John, before you go off on the Michigan game, let's bear in mind we got curb stomped by Michigan significantly less than everybody else they played.
I'm going to say that. I mean, Michigan is the number one team in America by a lot right now.
They weren't when we played them, but beating the crap out of us and Gonzaga and whoever else is why
they were. We just didn't know it yet.
Yes. My gosh.
They are the number one team in America. They crushed us. They beat Gonzaga much worse the next night. Auburn was the closest game they played in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And it's been a long time since I've watched an Auburn basketball game where we seemed so impotent and couldn't do anything constructive on either end of the floor.
That's true.
I think that's how, but I had this thought again and again watching that game. this is how other teams felt playing us last year.
That's
That's
true.
what it felt like playing last year's Auburn team.
Especially early in the season.
Yeah, they're bigger. Exactly. Early in the season, we were peaking. They're bigger. They're stronger. They're experienced. They know what they're doing. They're well coached. Everybody's plays as hard as they possibly can all the time. And they're just going to, jump on you and not let up and keep executing on both ends of the floor. And that's what Michigan did. But around that, we beat Oregon on Monday. We beat St. John's on Wednesday, which is great. I was excited to play St. John's. I was excited to play Patino.
2-0. Auburn is 2-0 all time against St. John's. That's pretty good because they are. I mean, I don't know if younger basketball fans appreciate that St. John's, particularly under Louis Carnesecca for years, they were back in like the 70s and 80s, they were almost Duke, right? I mean, they were one of those private small colleges that was great, had a great coach and great players.
Yeah, they went far in the tournament every year, and they were a power in that Big East with Georgetown and Syracuse and St. John. So that was fun. And having Patino back there, I really wanted a chance to play them maybe in the NCAA tournament, but we got it here, and they're a good team. Let's be super like that. Don't let that Michigan loss throw you off the scent. Like St. John's is a top 20 team in the country, and we beat them, on a neutral court on Wednesday.
Well, we came back to do it. We were losing pretty significantly, and we turned it around and put it on them like the team last year would do when they needed to. I just want to point out the other time we played and beat St. John's was in our great Elite Eight team in 1986 with Chuck Person, Frank Ford, Gerald White, Chris Morris, and Jeff Moore, and a few others. I think Johnny Lynn was probably on that team, and a few others. Maybe Terrence Howard, not the one in Iron Man, but the other Terrence Howard. But
could have been
him. But that team. That St. John's team had the player of the year. I can't think of his name, Barry or something, but they had the player of the year that year. They were the number 1 seed in the bracket. We were like 8. We got him in the second round, and we destroyed them by like 20. And St. John's was just shell-shocked. They had no idea. I still remember the New York Times headline said they run the court like Bo Jackson and hit the boards like Charles Barkley.
That's it.
And I'm like, that felt good. That was good. Yeah. So anyway, and we beat Oregon as you should in the 84-73. So by double digits, 11. We had the second highest margin of victory on the first night. So it was, on either side of that awful Michigan beatdown where we still scored 72 on them. We looked pretty good. And
we did. It was great to have Keyshawn Hall back. We didn't know going into that Oregon game if he was going to play in Vegas or not. We thought he might be out another week or two, and he played, and he was effective.
He was, yeah. And again, he remains the guy that can draw a foul. Auburn hasn't had that
and make
guy
a free throw.
Yes, and make the free throw. Yeah. I mean, we've had a couple of, KD could kind of, but oftentimes he would just barrel in and get a charge or something, or get killed and have been stolen.
Or miss the free throws.
Yeah. So Keyshawn Hall is the one guy we've had in years, maybe since McCormick, somebody like that's big enough to go down there and muscle his way in and create a shot in traffic and draw the foul. The one thing I haven't seen him do yet much is make the shot while he's drawing the foul. It's usually one or the other. He either makes the shot or draws the foul, but hasn't really done a lot of 3-point play, 3-point the hard way, as they say. But anyway, I've been very impressed with Keyshawn Hall playing hurt. Tahad went off on St. John's. Tahad decided he was going to will us to victory.
And we talked on this show last week, and I said I was not worried about Tahad Bedford, and he was fine in Las Vegas. He was good in the Oregon game, and he was peak Tahad in the St. John's game. I mean, that was as great as anybody in America. Well,
but he quit just jacking up threes constantly. He started taking it inside, taking it to the hole. He made a few threes, a couple at least, but he did other things. And
he played well in defense. He got some steals. He created some fast breaks.
Yeah, it's like when Steve Spurrier would put a new quarterback in, he didn't immediately call a bomb. He'd throw a few screen passes and draws and stuff like that just to get them worked in. And that's kind of what Tahad was doing. He did some easier stuff. It's not easy, but stuff that's a little more high percentage for him to kind of work his way back into it. And then he could step back and hit the three or something. And he went on almost 30, right? He did great.
That was an incredible performance by Todd.
And it's clear now he's going to have to almost be our shooting guard. I mean, with our top 5 lineup right now is like 2 shooting guards, a short center, and then another guard and a forward. In fact, we actually started 4 guards and a forward in the Oregon game, I believe.
Yeah. Which
I was like, basketball is so different now than it used to be. We put 4 guards and a forward out there. That's like having an offensive line made up of 3 wide receivers and 2 running backs. You're just like, what? But yeah. So yeah, we have. I mean, you want Murphy kind of playing. He's the only thing we've got at center, especially
That's
when
right.
the Croatian sensation. Although I know he's not from Croatia. When he was hurt.
Yep.
And him playing center again, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Well,
when he's playing
again, our backup center, I think they've decided is not ready for prime time, so he's not the 7-footer. He's not playing. So it's really we're really leaning on Murphy, as you're saying.
And he's getting fouling out. He's getting so many fouls. They know you get him out of there, and Auburn can't defend.
We need him for the regular season. He's the only guy I trust that I think can hold up to the SEC interior guys on defense. We got to have him for like 25 minutes a night against SEC defenses. Against SEC bigs, we're going to have a problem. But the other part is that we've clearly seen is it's a different kind of team. This is an elite offensive team. This team could score 90 points on anybody if they're playing well. And they've, we got plenty as between Hall and Tahad, like you got a foundation, and then these other guys, somebody else is going to be hot, and you're going to boom.
The 3-point shooting stud we brought in from like one of the Polster universities. Yeah, he hasn't even played. I haven't hardly even seen him.
No, Bashir, he has not played much. I think it's part of it is they've been worried about his defense. And if you know the deal, if you can't play defense, you're not playing. So I think that's been the issue with him. I think Freeman has played well. He's played a lot of small forward. I think he's played well on he's made some defensive plays, some rebounds, and I think he's made some decent shots. I really like Overton. He's the other kind of veteran guard we have. He had a couple of tough games out there too, but then I think he played well in the St. John's game. So,
and Sway,
Sebastian Williams-Adams he's the wild card guy, like the true freshman power forward. I think he's got the ceiling, which is way up there. He's really just learning how to do it, and I think there'll be games later in the year when he is, he can come in and do some damage against good teams.
Well, that's the thing is that right now, Keyshawn, Hall, and Tahad are really carrying this team, but this team's only going to get better.
Yes.
They're young and they haven't played together much. So they're only going to get older and they're only going to play together more.
That's right. And I think so, like, especially on team defense, they're going to get way better than they are right now. We're scratching the surface of where they're going to be defensively. So it's like we said, they have a wide range of variability right now, and we're not going to make any judgments until like February 1st or whatever about what this team is. So
I say right now the Stephen Pearl experiment is working out fine. Now he hasn't had to recruit by himself yet, so we don't know what the future lineups will be. But so far, he and that staff seem to be just picking right back up.
I think Jester Ferguson said this. Stephen Pearl's coached 8 games in college. 4 of them have been against coaches who coached in the Final Four.
Wow.
So we've lost 1.
And nearly beat Houston.
That's right. We lost 2. Sorry.
Yeah, nearly beat Houston. So coming up Wednesday if you're listening to this on Tuesday, tomorrow night. So Wednesday night, December 3rd, 8:15 Central, 9:15 Eastern on ESPN. We play NC State, which we now know does exist. This is a school that for a long time the Wishbone's official position was it didn't actually exist, but we acknowledge it now. I always thought Valvano just was out there for nobody, running around hugging people.
One of our better gimmicks over time.
It was, but we had to finally give in and acknowledge. Who did we switch it to? Rutgers? Yeah, I think it's Rutgers we switched it to. They don't exist. I haven't seen them on TV in ages, so I don't think they exist anymore. They closed up shop. They're done. Fire sale. Will Wade, I did not know NC State's coach was former LSU big boy Will Wade.
Will Wade, who, he wasn't wrong. He was just early about paying players. So he got in trouble when that was a bad thing, and now it's okay. So he's back in the game at NC State, and he's quickly built them into a good team. Like this is his first year.
He wasn't a bad coach.
No.
It was never the problem. The only thing with him was just
what we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
So you just change the law and you're good, right? Now you're good. So then we've got they're 29 to Ken Palm. And then Saturday, late at night, at Arizona, man, they beat Florida. Yeah, I did see they beat Florida, so that's a little disturbing. Number 10 in Ken Palm. I don't feel great about that one.
No. I'd have to say first, for those of us on the East Coast, come on, man. 9:15 Eastern on a Wednesday, on a day I got to go to work on Thursday, and then 10 p.m. on Saturday. What are we doing here?
Come on, man.
And two really good teams, too. Like, this is going to be, and as you said, that at Arizona, they're in the top 10. That's going to be a tough game. They're
in their house.
Ready. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and bear in mind, other cool thing, though, is, we're talking about St. John's. The last time we played St. John's was in the 1986 in the second round. Who did we beat in the first round to get that matchup with St. John's? Arizona. Yeah, with their legendary coach, Lute Olson. That's right. So that's kind of cool. All right.
I'm excited that we're going out there to play it.
Oh, I am too. It just sucks that that it's not last year's team. I wish we could have that team for 10 years. All right. So there's your college basketball update for Auburn. How does the college football pick'em look as we reach the end of the regular season here?
We have one more week to go. They do it for a championship game weekend, but because there's only one game, it's basically decided. There were 9 games last week, and there were 2 teams out of all the people in the pool who got all 9 correct. Dang. And that was I'm Ready to Be Hurt Again, and Why Can't We Have Nice Things, 2 of the great names. But the end result is the same. Cato the Barner still with a 1-point lead over Auburn football's Elvis, and now Why Can't We Have Nice Things is surged into a tie for 3rd. So Cato's still in great shape as we head into next week, where you still have it, tough. You got to pick the winners. So it's been a really fun contest, really close throughout the year. I have continued to pick Auburn the entire season, which has not been the most successful strategy, but I'm happy I did it. So,
yeah. I may not have actually picked this week, so I probably dropped completely out of any kind of semblance of contention. Not that I was ever in it. That would make 2 weeks I didn't pick. So I really much like Auburn in the second half, I really dropped the ball, but and led to a less than pleasant finish. But oh well. They were sending me an email reminding me, and then they just didn't send me one, and so I kind of gotten used to getting that reminder email. All right, quick Fantasy Formula One update. Crazy stuff happened at the Qatar race, and it didn't really change anything. There's just some movement in the middle of the field, but I think Michael Kirshner is going to bring this thing home. He has an insurmountable, nearly 700-point lead. It's done. He was able to go in and get Mercedes and McLaren both, and he's just ridden those two cars to the finish line. So congratulations to Michael
Max
Kirsten.
Verstappening it.
He is, yeah. I lost a little ground because I went with my Lando Norris and Nico Hulkenberg lineup, which really gave me a lot of negatives. But Carlos Sainz did give me 27 points for finishing third. But I feel like I have just enough of a lead to hang on to second. So, and then Michael Kirshner's other team is now in third. Lane Middleton, Mandy Thompson, me, John Stubbs, Brett Wiggins, Wiggeber, Eric Morgan, and Rob Morgan round out the top 10. That is your fantasy Formula One update. It's been a fun year. We'll get that thing cranked back up again. No pun intended. Not too long, right? The season starts all over again coming up in like March.
It won't be long.
Get ready to jump in and build your fantasy Formula One team if you didn't get to do it this year.
And if you're a patron, get ready because the bowl pick'em is coming. As soon as the bowls get announced after next Sunday on next week's podcast, we'll talk about the bowl pick'em rollout.
And John will be sending out an email to all the patrons. So if you want in on the bowl pick'em, we have a bowl pick'em champion here in the studio right now. It is about 2 or 3 years ago now that he won it all. And he is one of our patrons, and he's ready to whoop tail again. So good luck, Boris, and all the rest of you. Yeah, that's your fantasy update. We got to thank the patrons to do all this, to do the bowl pick'em, to do the fantasy Formula One, to do the season pick'em that John put together. We need you patrons to sign up. All you got to do is go to www.auwishbone.com, www.auwishbone.com. And remember, the greatest thing about being a patron is you are making it so that we do not have ads on this show. We never have ad interruption other than this. This is not an ad. This is us saying how to avoid having ads. So www.auwishbone.com. I keep turning down solicitations to have ads every week because of you guys. So thank you, patrons. Here are the patrons currently keeping us ad-free and getting to do all of our fun contests all year long. They include the great Samuel Salvatore, who says, I'm the #1 fan for the worst coaches in the world. And in fact, let's go ahead and bust it out now, and then we'll come back. Coming up, we have the rest of our patrons, plus listener questions and around the SEC. But first, it's time for our occasional look at the most ridiculous delinquents and ne'er-do-wells that ever coached a coaching football, the worst coaches in the world. And Samuel sent it in this week for us because he had some thoughts about it. And he hit me up with some suggestions. So we'll go worse, worser, and worstest. Our worst. It's hard to do that. Well, first, there's a dishonorable mention to Mark Stoops, formerly of Kentucky. He thought he'd made it, John. He thought he'd made it. And not even in the 11th hour, in the 13th hour, when it was all over. It's kind of like when the hurricane blows through town and everything gets destroyed but one little house.
Well, and then the tail comes back around and gets you.
Yes. They walk out of the house. We did it. Wow. So he's our dishonorable mention, Mark Stoops. Whatever in the world. We'll talk about it in a minute. Worst is DJ Durkin. Samuel says, you lost a game you clearly outplayed your opponent on. You had undisciplined penalties. You had 10 men on the field right after a timeout that Bama easily scored on, and you kept the same culture of finding a way to lose going that Freeze was doing in the first place. That's harsh but fair. The worser, Mike Norvell of Florida State got blown out by a Florida team that had long since quit. That's all you need to be the worst coach in the world. And the funny thing is he's keeping his job. He's going to be around for another year at Florida State, which is kind of surprising, honestly. But your worstest, is there any doubt that it is Lane Kiffin? Led Ole Miss to its first college football playoff appearance and can't coach in it. Took the money and ran to LSU. Ooh, took the money and ran. Treated the situation unprofessionally for the third time in your coaching career, Tennessee, USC, and now Ole Miss. He got 7 years, $91 million, John. So we'll talk about it. And I would just like to add, because this is what I was building up to earlier, and I wanted to get this in, that Nick Saban told Lane Kiffin to take the LSU job. And we found out today at his press conference that Summerall said that Kiffin told him to take the Florida job. That really pissed me off, because that means Kiffin wasn't satisfied with just sabotaging the hire in 2022 when he kept us on the hook to the last minute and said, no, I'm not coming. He then turned around and told our next guy, the next coaching cycle, no, don't go to Auburn, go to Florida. Thanks a lot, Kiffin. Everybody hates you, and now I hate you too. Congratulations.
Amen. But I just know if we'd have hired him 3 years ago, he would have done that exact same thing he just did to us. He'd be the LSU coach today, and we would be much madder than we are right in this moment.
Oh, yeah. And at the end of SEC Shorts today, LSU's laughing at everybody, and then they slowly push in on the LSU guy as his expression goes from ha 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 ha. Lane Kiffin, probably more than anybody has ever deserved it. You are this week's, this year's, this century's worst coach in the world. And now we have to get back to the patrons, because that was just one. We also have to thank Logan Chilton. What do you sacrifice, Logan? What do you sacrifice to be an Auburn fan?
So what do I sacrifice?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, I jumped the gun. I couldn't resist it. Ben Spooner, do you want to say that we didn't hire the right coach? Well, that would be
Blasphemy.
There you go. Carl Von Drunker, Chris and Clinton Stewart. Mercer was sufficiently hated last week. It's about a week old, but yeah. Earl Ricks, Phil Amthor, now giving Van and John a break from the no sound clip since the dismal years are over. I hope so, Phil. Richard Stevens, Steve Trewick. To get through this. Ann Pridgeon, Shane Bailey, Susan Trewick, Willie Carden, Matt Flowers, Gary Grant, AKUA fan at KSC, William Morgan, Bradley Blackman. John warned us about Hugh Freeze. That's the truth. Michael Kirshner, soon to be our fantasy Formula One champ. If Carol Shelby could have seen Mercer fans, he'd say,
I don't speak Italian, but he ain't happy.
That's the truth. David W.D. Sammons Esquire, Harry Zagger, G Money, Rich Reimer, Steve Harlan, Wes Atkinson. We are some dogs again. I think I'm ready for us to be some dogs. I'm go ahead and in fact,
I mean, to just say that we're some dogs, honestly.
You know, I've been waiting a while to push this button, John. You know what I want to push?
I want you to put the word out there that we back up. Understand me? We back up.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting.
Then so be it.
Yes. A few more. Back to the authorities. Catherine England, no one fights like Gaston. War Eagle always. Mickey B, the Three Monkeys. Theodore Gary, Winston Body, defending fantasy F1 drivers manufacturers champion Lane Middleton. Have another good year. Brandon Smith, Daniel Odom, 2008-2009 Taliban Wrangler world champion. We get interesting resumes here in our patron list here. H-Town Danny, Chris Hilton, Ben Bloodworth, Bob W.E. Sammons, Auburn University debate team 74-75, and current Sleazy Shicer. Algo Rhythm and Blues, Rusty Owens, goodbye, Hugh. Goodbye, Hugh. Hello, happiness. Luther and Kelly Ottaway, pushing the button, waiting on the internet. What would the Terminator be called in his retirement? The X-Terminator. Yeah.
Not
Get a little thin on the ground. Yeah. Todd Robinson, a.k.a. an undisputed 2012 doubles badminton intramural champion. We got so many champions. Woody the Jag, the official 2024 Bowl Mania champion. I think Boris must have been 23, maybe 22, 23. And I know that Jared won it one year too, as he likes to point out in his eternal dual rivalry with Boris. Chad McDowell, Auburn football's Elvis, Wade Ward, Reynolds Wolf, Philip Martin, Jeff Hunter, who is Frosty's favorite ant? Antarctica. Timothy, Russell Milling, that's evergreen, even though it's white. Randall Walker, David Simpson, Josh Teal, Tony Perry, Rob Morgan, Patrick Williams says the AU Wishbone, it's simply.
Whether you like it or not, learn to love it because it's the best thing going today.
Woo!
You can't be serious.
Oh, woo! I agree. Let's see, where was I? Shannon Butson, Construction Tiger, Papa Todd, Cato the Barner, soon to be our Pick'em champion, Stephen Houston, Kevin Mahan, Blake Heron, Sarah Hines, Sasquatch, 7-time hide and seek champ. Like I said all along, hire Golesh and get out of the way. Oh, hey, I'll give that a
Please clap.
absolutely. Tim Pittman, right here he is, Boris the Tiger, patron. Charles Mooney, hope nobody had Nick Saban over for Thanksgiving since he always asks for seconds. David D, Auburn Blue, Dr. Crackham, Bill Weathers, Philip Martin, Vegas lost to Michigan Monstars points diff champs. Okay. Walt is ready for actual offensive game plans because we all know the average Ruski doesn't take a dump, son, without a plan. Oh, I like it. I'm gonna give you that all right. And I have a Walt update too coming up, Walt. So stand by. Antoine Morris, ABB, Wiggerbird, 2005 AU Intramural Horseshoes champion. Tyler Ward, the 2025 War Ready Bracket champion. Mark Squire, Joey Miller, Alex Wynn, Kenneth Brent Raines, the barbecue.
You have failed me for the last time.
AKA Auburn Dead for Life. John Stubbs, Clay Henson, Justin Bean, James Taylor, and finally, I feel like SEC roll call when he does the Vanderbilt guy talking about his sweet baby boy Diego. Did you see the roll call today?
Yeah.
It came out later today.
I did.
Yeah. There was a little dark humor though when Ole Miss was talking about this is the worst way to lose a coach before the postseason, and they showed Mississippi State sitting there, and the guy's like, the host is like, it's not even the worst way in the state of Mississippi. I'm like, yeah, it's true. I mean, can't argue, but dang. Ruth and Darren Sutherland, Stephen Thompson, Ben Amos, which is your favorite of his SEC characters? Which one do you kind of like enjoy the most usually or find the funniest?
I don't know. You pick.
I found myself appreciating the Texas guy. He's got the cowboy hat and the sunglasses. He's kind of arrogant, and he's just like exactly what you'd think a Texas guy would be, right? Even when they're losing, he's just still like. I think the Missouri one doesn't make sense. He just found a gimmick that works for Missouri, and he's riding it, the Darth Vader thing.
Yes.
But Auburn really didn't get to do much this week. He just kind of sat there and had Alabama crack on him for 5 minutes. So Stephen Thompson, Ben Amos, Spanky. I'm the bottom of this list because
God bless it! Blasphemy!
Chris Como, Darren Pyle, David Smiley, Trevor Johnson, Royce Alvarez, college equestrian expert Auburn Elvis, AU Falling Up, John Otsuki, Paul Bankson, MVP captivating Kathy Bright.
Your love of the halfling's leaf has clearly slowed your mind.
In fact, I would go so far as to say that the SEC roll call Auburn character just has less personality than any other character on there. He doesn't really have a personality. He just wears that Buc-ee's t-shirt. That's it. Okay, moving on. Alabama doesn't either, though. Ben Regas, Bobby Polite, Elizabeth Donald, I'll buy this for $1. Rich Hammett, Chris Braun, Alex Brown, Siberian Tiger. I like it. the Slinko family, Daniel Witten, Tim Saul, Jim McCrory. I will lick the toes of you. I will not lick the toes of you. I do not like those toes of woe. I'm Tiger. I'm not a hoe. Oh, so you're not Lane Kiffin. New York Tiger knows Santa does not pay to park his sleigh because it is always on the house. Steve Bailey, CT Tiger, Jim Myers, Trey Jackson, Howard Franz, Peter Wang, Willie Mose, Zach Doran, and Chris, plus our one-time anonymous donors. We thank you all. www.auwishbone.com. Usually I would do the worst coaches in the world sound effect here, but I already did it because I thought Samuel had some really good entries there. So I have a quick ice cream sandwich update, which I guess
And that's nothing but pure and simple old-fashioned communism.
wore that one out yesterday with the Golesh introduction for reasons that might be apparent. My ice cream sandwich update for this week is it's gotten so cold that with all the snow and ice this last few days, that our refrigerator our old refrigerator out in the garage where we kind of keep the overflow stuff is where I had my ice cream sandwiches. You don't want to put a refrigerator somewhere that it's cold, because oddly enough, it becomes less cold in the refrigerator than it is outside the refrigerator. That's just how it works. And so I went out to get one of my beautiful Fat Boy ice cream sandwiches the other day. It was just mushy. So I immediately took everything out of the freezer and put it in our downstairs freezer in the deep freeze. But it's a trap. Do not eat the half melted ice cream sandwich. And then the ones that I picked up to find that out refroze like that with fingerprints in them. Nice. So just a bad scene. Just a very bad scene.
It's a trap.
My other update really quickly is that Walt, our aforementioned patron Walt, who formerly used to write a bunch of Auburn stuff online that we enjoyed, I think at College in Magnolia maybe, Walt recommended that I read The Count of Monte Cristo and give a book report, and I haven't finished it. I ordered it from Amazon last week. John, you know how long that book is?
It's not that long.
It's like 1,300 pages. It's the size of Noble House or Shogun.
That's what I'm saying. I went back and read Shogun when the show came out last year.
The Audible of it is like 52 hours.
Nice.
So I'm about a third of the way into it. And I'll say this, the first 200 pages or so, awesome. I really got into it. I can see why it's a classic book. It's really good. The last 100 pages or so, when they're in Rome and there's like a dance and there's these two guys running around getting in trouble and all, I'm struggling. I need it to start mattering again because he's just taking his freaking time. Anyway, this has been your Count of Monte Cristo update. I'll come back next week with more. You have thoughts on it? You read it?
I've read it. It's been a while. I'll read it again at some point.
All right. You read, you just blow it off. I in like a week. It takes me a long time to get through things, but all right. So thank you, Walt, for that recommendation. I am enjoying it. And now,
Thank you. Order questions to the Prime Minister.
It's time for listener questions. Dun, 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 on the AU Wishbone podcast.
All right. As you can imagine, in a week in which we had this particular Alabama game and the coaching decision, we have a few listener questions. So I'm going to put them in chronological order. This is pre-Iron Bowl question from Matt, who says, what are the chances we can get you and Van Plexico and John Ringer to release audio books for the Auburn books? Would be a great listen when driving down to Auburn.
I'd love to. The only problem I have with that is that those books have like a book voice, neutral, and then your voice, and then my voice. So we would just have to get, we just have to arrange, and it's easy to do. Amazon does this, but we'd have to arrange for a professional book reader to do it, with the understanding that you got to kind of make us sound different. Because I just think it would be hard to follow the book with three different people talking. I mean, I've listened to audibles of books like that, like the Saturday Night Live history book is kind of like that. And I constantly get confused because they'll say at the beginning who's talking. And if I miss it, it's like 2 or 3 paragraphs of somebody saying something. And I'm like, I don't know who this is because they all sound the same.
Well, because they introduced themselves an hour ago, and I don't now.
Now I don't remember. I didn't hear, like I was in the shower or something. I didn't hear who it was. So is this Eddie Murphy saying that so and so is bad, or is this Joe Piscopo, or is this Lauren Michaels? I don't know. So I mean, that may just be a me thing, but I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it's a cool idea. We haven't done an audiobook. It'd be fun to do it where we read it and it came out as an audiobook, but I'm interested in giving it a shot.
All right. Well, I just don't know if you and I should be involved because that's a lot. That's a lot of work.
So here's the feedback portion. This is Matt's idea. I'm kind of intrigued. Van's saying it's a lot of work. I want to know if other listeners think this is a good idea.
Okay.
Would people buy the audio version?
All right.
Our next email came moments after the game ended, and it's from John Atsuki, and there's no subject in his email, and the entire email just says, "I hate this effing sport." So,
I understand. I sympathize completely. I get it. I do.
All right. Our next email was now we're into Sunday. This one is from
chronology. This is cool.
Well, we have to. Timing matters for that one. So
it does.
This one is Sunday morning early from friend of the podcast, Jared. It's an Iron Bowl haiku. And he says, Auburn Samurai did not hear my strongest plea, orange blue sadness. It's pretty good. It's pretty good, Jared. And then he adds in a dad joke for us. He says, a man passed out on the Ferris wheel. Paramedics say he's slowly coming around. That's a good one. That's one of the better dad jokes we've had in a while. I'm going to give you credit.
That is a good one. Hey, I just remembered, by the way, Jared and I today both got our guest invitations to Dragon Con. So I know it's a long way off, but start planning your trip to Atlanta for Labor Day weekend. And, of course, Auburn will be hosting Baylor there. So you know me, I'm going to try to find a way to over to the Mercedes-Benz to see a little bit of it if I can.
Hosting Baylor in the Alex Golesh first game.
Wow. That's right. The Alex Golesh era begins in Atlanta during Dragon Con.
I like it. Next is an email from Win Carroll that I forwarded to you. It has a little brief audio clip in it.
All right, go ahead to the next thing and I'll get it ready. I forgot.
All right, while you're teeing that up, I'm going to go on. Next after that is from Lane Middleton, who says this. He stole this from Reddit. He says, not my joke, but it made me laugh. In Russia, Eagle wars you.
I'm not even going to give that the dad joke thing. That's pretty good. I'm going to give that a. There you go. You doing that. All right. Here is apparently I have to download it. Whoops. Okay, here we go.
In a minute, or you?
No, I got it.
Gentlemen,
here it goes.
I have a message for our new head coach. And that is Privet Novomu Glavnomu Trienru, which roughly translated means hail the new head coach. I'm sure you're doing an emergency pod as we speak. So my question simplistically is, if Comrade head coach is to be successful in his first year, who are the 3 players he needs to retain? I look forward to hearing your feedback. I look forward to the soundboard transforming it into Rocky 4 clips instead of Batman and Robin clips. And as always, gentlemen, I would cheer for Mother Russia before I cheer for the University of Alabama. It's time to put our money where our mouth is.
Amen.
War Eagles.
Auburn #1. There you go. Oh, I should have ended that with there. That's better.
All right. So let's answer this question. Who are 3 players that Golesh has to keep to have the chance to be successful next year?
Well, I would say, because Deuce is young still, I would say Ashton Daniels, but if he brings his quarterback from South Florida, we may not have either one of our guys.
I mean, my view is Deuce is not sitting out another year of football. He's going to play at Auburn. He's going to play somewhere else. So
Yeah,
my
that's
vote
fair.
is Deuce Knight.
Okay.
On the defensive sides, Cam, and then on the defense, Xavier Atkins.
Yeah, he's been a heck of a player.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some other good young pieces in the defensive line, the secondary, Malik Blockton.
I will co-sign though. I like it.
Yeah, but I think that's the three if we had to pick. All right. Next email is from Phil Amthor, and he said the subject line is historical narrative. It makes the Russian angle make sense. Phil says, I've always enjoyed the Soviet anthem in the context of Saban's Alabama. Now that we have a Russian liberated from the Soviets, literally, can you guys elaborate on the historical analogy that is happening here? I really liked Van's Marxism analogy from earlier in the year. I guess I'm a nerd, but I love these takes, and I think there's more to this Russia-Soviet story.
I don't remember what my Marxism. I did have a whole like rant, as you like to say, about Marxism and football. I don't remember how it went though. Unfortunately, it came to me, it got out, and then it was gone.
I was gonna say Van's a creative idea person, and the idea emerged fully formed, just gone.
I've written 22 novels, John, and I couldn't recreate any one of them for you now. They're out. They're gone. They're out in the world. They're done. My brain is empty of them.
I do think we need to workshop this Russia thing. I think one thing I'm going to say is we joke a lot about the Soviet national anthem thing with Alabama and cheering for the Soviets against, Alabama every time and all that kind of stuff. But I suspect Golesh and his family really hate the Soviet Union and the idea of the Soviet Union. And so the jokes about Marxism and the Soviet Union anthem and stuff probably really don't go well with them.
I know. I've thought about it.
I know you and I are savvy enough to get this. Some other people are just like, that's whatever's working on the internet, so I'm going to do that. I do think there's what about Golesh as the defector?
Okay. I see you working there.
Like whether it's Firefox or some other some other Cold War story where people defect to the other, to the West, and then go do something big with it. I'm just thinking about that. So,
Firefox is a brilliant suggestion. Red October.
Okay. Oh yeah, Marco Ramius, Red October. I like it. He's a submarine captain.
And the one I'm going to think of that nobody else would until I do it. Unfortunately, I'm just silly. I'm going to find something from Gorky Park.
I enjoy Gorky Park. Young people have no idea. That was a really good book.
Really good book. And I just rewatched the movie about a month or two ago. I love all those.
He's still writing that character.
I know. And you wouldn't know it. That book got all that attention, had a movie, and then everything else has just kind of been.
I've read several of his other books. They're okay. All right, we got 3 emails left.
There's more Firefox books. Firefox Down was awesome. I don't know why they didn't make a movie out of it. It's great. Craig Thomas.
We got three more emails. So this one's from Bill Miner, frequent emailer, who says ranking initial coaching thoughts. He says, "Hey guys, I've always been a fan, but since I've been a closer observer of Auburn football since Bowden resigned and Tuberville was hired to replace him, I'd be curious to hear your rankings on your initial thoughts of the coaches we've hired since then. Tuberville, Chiswick, Malzahn, Potato, Freeze, and now Golesh, from most to least excited." He says, to me, Golesh is the most excited I've been since the Malzahn hire.
Yeah.
And I'd say he's probably number 2 to my Gus. I think he's the kind of coach we want and has the trajectory to be great rather than just okay. I do love that many seem to love the hire, and the positive energy from most everyone is great news going forward, Bill.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I mean, I've been on record. Well, nobody saw Terry Bowden coming, but
forget Bowden. Tuberville forward.
Yes.
Who
Tuberville, we both predicted was kind of who they were going after. Everybody knew it, and that was just kind of like, okay.
And it was easy to see that he was going to be good because he was winning an Ole Miss program that wasn't invested.
So we weren't excited. We were just kind of like, yes, that works. We're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Chiswick, I predicted, hardly anybody else did. I was excited. Nobody else was. Ha ha. And then, yeah, so we know how that played out. Gus, I was very excited, but I don't think I ever thought the upside was quite what I think right now. That's what's kind of gotten me excited the last 24 hours is the more that I think about Golesh and everything that he brings with him. He tell me if I'm wrong here. He seems like the most out of the box Auburn hire, with the possible exception of Potato, but Potato was in a bad way out of the box. You know what I mean? Like out of the box on the floor, broken on the concrete floor. Whereas this is like, I wouldn't have thought of this. I wouldn't have thought we would go there. It's almost like we kind of in a way got forced to go there, but I'm glad that we did because I think it worked out. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%. I like it. And I agree with everything you just said.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right. Next email is from Scott Crankton, who said the subject line is "There's always next year." He says, "Gentlemen, Jabba and Auburn can't have nice things didn't materialize out of thin air. They came about after years of field experience. I'm sorry to say that when I watch Auburn football, I now anticipate failure with each snap. I've just been conditioned that way. Consider changing the Auburn fun meter to the Auburn misery index during football season. Another soul-crushing Iron Bowl loss, another losing season, and now another head coach. What do I think about the new head coach? Ask me in a few years. Hate to be a Debbie Downer, but with Auburn football, expect the worst, and you will never be disappointed. War Eagle and Merry Christmas. Respectfully, Scott Crankton."
Except in 2010 and 2013. Although in 2013 we did end up being disappointed.
But he would say he was pleasantly surprised in those years.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Last email is from Mandy Thompson, who says, "Dear John and Van, I just finished reading your book, first time ever, about this past week in preparation for the home Iron Bowl. Great job. My parents and grandparents were at the game, and I asked them about their memories. It was Grandma's birthday. She had a little megaphone that they had given out and was joyously screaming around the bowl and down the hole, straight into the ear of the Alabama fans sitting in front of her by the end of the game. She's turning 89 this year and said it was one of her best birthdays ever."
That's so good.
Hopefully we get back to that kind of joy in 2027. Yeah. Question: what are 3 reasonable benchmarks that would mean a good first season next year, given the schedule? War Eagle Mandy.
Well, by the way, I wish I'd had that story to include in our book, because we did put some memories at the end. I was able to round up like 20 or 30 pages of memories from people, which was fun to do. What are we asking for?
What 3 reasonable benchmarks that would mean a good first season next year, given the schedule?
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, it is a tough schedule. We've said it's getting harder.
I would like to see Auburn have a top 20 offense in the country.
Yeah, that'd be good.
It's been a long time.
2014.
So I think that with the talent we have and Golesh's track record, I think that's not unreasonable top 20 offense in the country. I would like to see us get back to freaking running the football well.
Yeah. Well, that's what Golesh was talking about at his press conference. He was saying, he's known for all this passing, but he says it's based on a hard-nosed, strong running game.
I'd like to see us play some clean football. How about that?
Not
finish
mistakes
strong at the end of games.
I'll tell you, this made me think of it, is one of the plays that from South Florida that guy broke down was showing how you've talked about this, how they put the receivers outside the numbers right up against the sideline. And he was showing how that drew like safeties or linebackers, whatever, further away from the play. and everything was loaded that way. And so the defense was stretched way overplaying on that side of the field. And then they just did kind of a misdirection and ran to the other side of the field, and it was clean sailing right down the right sideline. So that was just a power misdirection run play that succeeds based on where you place. You had the two receivers stacked right up against the sideline, keeping the defense as far away from the action as possible.
Here's another reasonable benchmark: 1,000-yard receiver and 1,000-yard running back.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, Steve Spurrier used to say you don't have to block a guy if you can use the position of your guy on the field to affect where he is.
That's right.
You don't have to block him; you can just make him be in the wrong place.
And that's what this offense does. We've talked about this a lot on this podcast. This veered shoot that Baylor created, that Tennessee runs, that Golesh runs. Like, they line up the receivers way outside the numbers, and if you're on the hash on this side of the field, that is way the heck over there. And the defense has a choice. They leave that guy one-on-one, or they shade a safety way over there, and that safety can't come and help. You put two receivers over there, then you're talking like three guys who are out of the box, way far away from the play. And as you're saying, they can't do anything at all on the other side of the formation. So I think it really does work, that stuff, and it leads to a lot of kind of one-on-one easy throws to outside the numbers if the quarterback has a good arm. So
when they say spread, that's kind of what they're talking about, is that you're using the spacing of your offense to influence how the defense is spread out, and then you're attacking the gaps.
That's right. But as you spread them out, but then, as we said, they run the ball and run the ball and run the ball because the defense is more out of the box. So.
You remember how wide the splits were on the offensive line of Texas Tech when Leach was there?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could have driven a truck between the tackle and the guard in the center. They were so – it made the defense have to – do you just put them in a V and go right in, or what? So that was really interesting. All right. Let's take a trip around the SEC. What do we want to talk about? The coaching carousel?
Yeah, we just want to talk about that for a minute before we get into the game. So you talked about the Kiffin thing. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about Kiffin to LSU and Ole Miss keeping Pete Golding. Kiffin did the hostage situation with Ole Miss, where he tried to blackmail them basically into letting him coach the playoff games, and basically ESPN at Kiffin's agent's request, parroted that line for him to back all that up. And Ole Miss was never going to let that happen. And Kiffin threatened to take the offensive coaches with him and more coaches with him. And Ole Miss, I don't think that happened,
right? Only a couple went.
No, the offensive coaches went. So the offensive coordinator and most of the other offensive coaches went. The defensive coaches stayed. And the other part is Pete Golding is now not just the interim coach; he's the real coach. But
they've got to find an offensive staff between now and their next game. That's insane.
Yes, that's why Kiffin did it. He put them over the thing and said, "You're gonna blow this playoff game because you won't let me coach it." But he wanted to make it all about him, and then he'd be in a position also to steal Ole Miss's players to LSU too. So there was no way they should have let him do it. He was being a schmuck.
But it's just astonishing to me that Ole Miss is going to be in the playoffs, and they don't even have an offensive staff.
That's right. No, listen, they're putting it together right now. They got a bunch of graduate assistants and little people over there putting together the game plan.
They're on Chat GPT saying, well, how would Lane Kiffin design an offense to play blank? And then they're in there doing the.
Is there some retired coach we could bring in here off the street that could help us for a week or two?
And if they go to Chat GPT, it comes back with diagrams showing 13 players on offense. Yeah, why didn't we think of this? Why didn't we think of putting 13 guys out there? This is brilliant. This is revolutionary, John.
And then you mentioned Sumrall already, and then Arkansas hired Silverfield from Memphis, and Kentucky this afternoon hired Will Stein, the offensive coordinator from Oregon.
My colleague at the college came in talking about they fired Stoops, and I'm like, why now? Why do you wait until the ship has sailed out of the harbor and is halfway to South America, and then you're like, oh yeah, we fire Stoops?
I think they didn't want to fire him. I think they had a good second half of the season. They beat Auburn, they beat Florida, but then Louisville beat the living snot out of them. I think it was 29-0. And I think if that had been competitive, Stoops would be the coach there today. But I think that game was so bad, it put a big cherry on top of the season. And Kentucky fans were like, we don't care anymore. Bud Elliott had a good line about this. I think he was basically saying, like, he doesn't actually think the new coach can win any more than Stoops did. But sometimes the AD has to make a change to give people a little bit of enthusiasm and energy so they keep donating money.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times schools like Kentucky in football have to up and up and up and up the money just to stay on par with where they're supposed to be.
That's it.
My colleague at the college, he was like, who would have thought in a year that we beat Auburn on the road and beat Florida, we'd fire the coach? That's unbelievable.
And remember, Stoops got offered the A&M job a couple years ago.
Good grief. But he was at, quote, the best job in America, unquote, where as long as you go over 500 every year, they don't care. They'll keep paying you.
Except he stopped doing that.
Yeah, he sure did. The other thing was Arkansas. They're in a meltdown because they've got, I mean, the way that SEC Shorts did it at the end, where Arkansas came in at the very end after everything was over and said, "Oh, we got a new coach too." And they're like, "Oh, who is it?" And he's like, "I want to say Steve." First he said Alex Golesh, and the Auburn guy off screen is like, "Look again." And he's like, "Oh, we don't have Golesh." And then he's like, "Well, who do you have?" "We have a backup plan." "Who is it?" Then he says that. That was so funny. He's like, the Memphis guy. Come on.
Well, and then I think they're mad because they thought they were going to get the North Texas coach at Oklahoma State.
Well, they thought they were going to get Golesh, but yeah.
Well, they thought they were going to get Golesh. Then they thought they were going to get Eric Morris, the North Texas coach. They had the number one offense in the country, and that guy went to Oklahoma State. So I think they felt like they kind of got swooped on. And then they thought Golesh was there, and Golesh was like, "No, I'm holding out for Auburn," basically. So.
And I love the story that Sumrall and Golesh had the same agent. And they were saying the agent told Sumrall, no, hold out for Florida. Don't go to Auburn. And then when Auburn offered Golesh, the agent was supposedly like, well, maybe you don't want to. And Golesh is like, screw it. Give me the thing. I'll sign it right now. He was not playing. The second we offered Golesh, he was in. And I like that. I mean, he was not desperate. He had other options, but he wanted to be at Auburn, and that makes me even happier.
All right. Now I have to reveal to you the what if Auburn had won the game scenario. Have you heard this?
By all means, let's hear it.
If Auburn had won the football game on Saturday, this is one of the reasons that Lane Kiffin delayed his announcement, okay? Because A, they would have been in the SEC championship game, but also because of this. If Auburn had won the football game Saturday night, that would have been 2 seasons at Alabama with no playoff spot. That would have been a very long offseason for somebody. So Kalen DeBoer would have taken the Penn State job if Auburn had won the football game. And if Auburn won the football game and Kalen DeBoer left, Lane Kiffin would be the head coach at the University of Alabama today.
That's why
LSU would be running around trying to go to Plan C.
Well, LSU would have been coming and trying to Bigfoot Florida for Sumrall, and Sumrall would end up making $12 million a year or some nonsense. You made me think of something, but it went out of my brain. But I know him. DeBoer going to Penn State is what we call pulling a Bill Curry.
Ding ding! I made that analogy the other night. It was like, he's going to get a brick through the window.
Mm-hmm. And off he goes to another job. It's just like, or Francione to Texas A&M, right? He left Alabama. There are coaches that are at Alabama a couple of years and realize, fellas, this just ain't for me.
No, not
a special kind of to be able to absorb all that you absorb at Alabama and still keep your sanity. So that's an interesting scenario. I like that. All right, week 14. Let's blast through this and get on out of here. Ole Miss beat Mississippi State. It was competitive for a while. Ended up 38-19. Georgia beat Georgia Tech. That was competitive too, pretty close, but Tech never really felt like they were in it. I did hear somebody say that if Georgia Tech's coach had gone somewhere else and not taken his offensive coordinator, like people seem to think that the Georgia Tech offensive coordinator is the real magician in that
he
relationship.
is. I mean, I think Georgia tried hard to hire him a year ago.
Okay.
And if they could have gotten him, they would have let Bobo go and brought that guy in, Buster Faulkner. And
Buster
there was a
Faulkner.
lot of rumors that if Auburn was hiring Summerall, they would try to get Buster Faulkner to be the OC.
They'll see for Summerall. Well, and Summerall says he's going to go out and get an explosive offense guy. He said he feels like he has to, and he's probably right. Texas beat Texas A&M. That was, you could just kind of see that coming, that rivalry. A&M loses so much, right? What did they lose? Everything. They're still in the playoffs, but there went their undefeated season. They didn't even get to go to the championship game. I mean,
never been.
They've never been, and Ole Miss has never been. It's just back to Alabama. It's like you spend the whole season thinking you're going to get something different for dinner, and then you get a ham sandwich. Alabama and Georgia, the ham sandwich of the SEC. You'll take your ham sandwich and like it. Saturday, of course, Louisville, we talked about. Clemson beat South Carolina in an ugly, ugly game. Missouri, Arkansas, 31-17. Vanderbilt, Tennessee was fun to watch. It was just fun to watch Vanderbilt beat down Tennessee.
In Neyland.
I don't have anything against Tennessee necessarily more than just, we hadn't played them in 10 years or whatever, but that was just fun. It's just fun to see. How is Vanderbilt at 10-2 not in the playoffs when like Oklahoma is or whatever? I mean, what has Vanderbilt not done that other teams have done to get in?
Well, I mean, who have they beaten that's good? Tennessee.
Yeah.
And
they lost to Alabama, right? They lost to somebody else. I don't remember who else. Who else beat Vandy?
To Texas, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Alabama and Texas. And Texas is not even in the playoffs. So, all right. It just sucks, though. Everybody wants Vanderbilt to be in. Oklahoma beat LSU in another ugly mud fest. That game should have been played in the mud. And then Florida beat Florida State 40-21. Oh, you know how Oklahoma's going to keep going through the playoffs? Sooner Magic. Sooner Magic. All right, what's wrong with his hand? Sooner Magic. All right, here we got coming up. This is Conference Championship Weekend. Friday, Conference USA. Kennesaw State of Atlanta. Northwest Atlanta's own. Kennesaw State. Wow, I've been on that campus. They didn't have a football program when I was there. Sunbelt, Troy at James Madison. James Madison on the rise, you say. Keep an eye on them, right?
There's a scenario here. Duke wins the ACC. James Madison wins this game. James Madison and the winner of the American are in the playoff. And the ACC is not in the playoff.
Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious. North Texas at Tulane. So there's the Summerall's going to keep coaching.
Mm-hmm. And Eric Morris, both of them, they'll be coaching in this game, and they'll keep coaching in the playoff.
Unbelievable.
They make it.
The Mountain West
It wasn't
game.
decided. It's Boise and San Diego State, I think.
I was going to say, I don't know who it's going to be, but they'll have garish uniforms that look wildly out of place on a football field.
Yes.
All right, Saturday. Here we go, y'all. At noon Eastern, 11 Central, the Big 12. BYU at Texas Tech. That'll be fun. We've got the MAC also at the same time. Miami of Ohio at Western Michigan. Some action there. 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock on Eastern on ABC is the SEC's ham sandwich. At 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central is the Duke versus Virginia game. There's going to be a lot of encyclopedias and law books flying in that one. People getting beat up by literature, fine literature there. UVA has looked really good this year. I was surprised nobody came after their coach.
They're good on offense. I know that.
Yeah.
So, their coach wins Coach of the Year awards. He did a great job.
And at the same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, ABC, the Big Ten, Ohio State, Indiana. What do you think about that game? Let's close out with a quick Ohio State, Indiana.
I mean, these are two of the best 3 or 4 teams in the whole country. It's interesting. This is not a playoff game. It's the Big Ten championship game. Are they going to unload the full clip on each other? They're going to save the good stuff. I think they're going to save the good stuff, and this will be kind of a solid game. But they're really just playing for who gets the bye and who has to play. So
this has the feel to me of back in the old days of soccer, of international soccer, before there was so much scrutiny and there was a lot more cheating and shady stuff going on, like in the 60s and 70s. Up in the early 80s, there would be a game where like both teams going into like the last game of the season would know that if nobody scored on them, they would both win like their divisions or whatever. And so they'd go out there and for 90 minutes just kind of like go puh, 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 and just kind of kick it around like the circle for 90 minutes while the referee's just standing there like with the ref, and you're like, and the crowd is just boo because but they're like, they don't, because they're not playing, they're just wasting time, they're just killing the game. That's what this feels like. I can't imagine why Ohio State and Indiana are 1-2, right?
Yes.
And they're playing each other. It just,
now,
I feel like
I'm going to say that. I think for Ohio State, they don't care. I think for Indiana, they care because this is the losingest program in college football, and they haven't won the Big Ten. I don't know when the last time. So for them, the chance to win the conference probably does matter.
I'm just going to say, I think we have achieved the point where the conference championship games no longer, they should be abolished. Now you might say, well, but all that money, and I would say just make it a play-in game to the playoffs with different matchups. So that it's not, you don't want 1 and 2 playing right now. It's just silly.
Because the SEC championship game was something that everybody cared about for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
It's become this big item.
I couldn't care less about it this year.
No, nobody cares. But it makes like $20 million a year for the conference in profit. So they're going to keep doing it, even if it's a dumb idea with the current playoff structure.
Right. That's the thing, is it made perfect sense in its day. But it
made perfect sense in the divisional structure too, because it was the winner of the East against the winner of the West, and every person in America could understand the standings. Now, I mean, this has happened in other conferences, and it's going to happen in the SEC, a scenario where there's clearly a team that everybody thinks is the best team, and they're not in that game because of the uneven schedule. Like that's within the next 2 or 3 years, that is 100% going to happen. Some team is going to be ranked in the top 5, and they won't make the SEC title game.
The fact that Texas A&M is not in it, and Alabama is, and Alabama's got 2 losses to a bad Florida State team. I know it's not SEC. Andre Bruce and I know that they're not in the SEC, but to a bad Florida State team and to Oklahoma, right?
Yes.
And yet A&M has 1 loss in a bitter rival game on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How is A&M not in the SEC championship game? Because Alabama didn't beat them.
Some tiebreaker. This is what I'm talking about. Because everybody's a buddy buddy, it's all tiebreaker.
It's so dumb. I mean, if I were A&M, I would be beside myself. Because I don't like A&M, I'm laughing at them. But I don't love Alabama getting anything either. So,
amen. I would have
maybe another loss from Georgia. Although, what am I saying? Alabama's playing the one good team that
they own Georgia.
Georgia's playing.
They're going to beat them again in this game. You need to write that.
Georgia's playing the one. I mean, I can't say it right. Alabama is playing the one really good team that cannot beat them.
No, they're
Ohio State beat Alabama. Yeah. So
but I'll be super clear about this. I don't think any SEC teams are winning the title this year.
No.
I think Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon, Texas Tech are probably the 4 best teams in the country.
Wow. Yeah. But Alabama's going to go out there and beat Georgia again.
Yep.
Because that's what they do.
Yep.
They're in their heads. Alabama's in Georgia's head like Auburn is in Alabama's heads. For better or worse, they can't get past us.
Amen.
All right. I think we're bringing it in right at 2 hours. So I think that's good enough. I think you said it best when you said, "Das Vidanya, comrade." Our time is up. We thank you for yours. War Eagle, John.
War Eagle, man.